Hi, my name is Kevin. I'm an exercise specialist with the West Primary Care Network, and today we're going to do an exercise routine that's basically lower body exercises. It's good for osteoporosis, anyone who has poor balance, anyone who just needs general leg strengthening in the lower body, or hip and knee arthritis. Really, all these exercises are going to benefit. For that, we're going to do 2 sets of every exercise. I'm going to do the harder version of the exercises, and my colleague Terry will do the easier version of the exercises. So just choose which one is appropriate for you. We're going to do about 15 repetitions of every exercise. I want you guys to do somewhere between, I usually say 6 to 20. If you're able to do 6, 7, 8, and then if you notice that your technique starts to get worse, or you start to develop an increase in pain, I want you to stop. So don't push through pain. No pain, no gain is not a thing for the general population. And then other than that, follow along with us. We're gonna basically do them back to back. So hit pause if you ever need to take a break, and grab water and whatnot, but we're gonna go right on through. So we're gonna start with a warm up. Okay, so we're gonna just start with a warm up. So just warm up is just walking on the spot. So walk on the spot for probably 1 to 3 minutes or so. Walking on the spot is really just the same as walking outside is. The muscles are contracting, they're going back and forth. That's gonna create heat and increase blood flow to the lower body. That's what we need for a warm up.
Yeah, so we just want to get the blood flow flowing to those muscles we're gonna work. So first we're doing a walk on the spot. Feel free to move around. We'll stay still so that we don't make you dizzy. But then maybe let's go to some bum kicks.
All right. So think about bringing your heel to your bum. This is a knee warm up or a knee exercise. Just bend your knee as far as it wants to go. So go as far of a bend as you want on either side. Different people have different levels of knee flexibility. The whole point is just go as far as you're able to, back and forth.
I like to get my arms into it, do a little upper body movement, but also feel free to hang on for balance if you're feeling off balance at all.
Like that. Cool. Next one we'll go into is high knees. So think about this is really a hip exercise. Lifting your hip up, lifting your hip up, lifting your knee up, bending your hip. Bend your hip. Just like that. Once again, same idea. Bring it as far as it's able to go. On either side. I usually do about 10 per leg, 5 to 10 per leg, something like that.
Okay, and then we'll do some side to side steps.
Yeah, all right, high school dance. Yep, that way.
Okay.
And then that way, great. So take a you could walk across your house in one direction if you wanted to. We're just doing this to stay coordinated because it looks cool. So we should feel this in the outside of the butt. So should be right there, and we're using our hips laterally.
I like to get my arms in a bit and do some shoulder circles, but again, totally optional. We're mostly just warming up the lower body.
Cool. Outside of the hips is where you should feel it. Outside of the butt is where we want to feel this one.
Okay, and then we can just end with a little bit more marching on the spot because it tends to be a nice relaxed motion just to kind of get the blood flowing again.
Open playtime. Do whatever you want to. Move in any way that feels good. I'm just doing a weird walk, whatever you want to do.
Okay, and then now that we're nice and warmed up, we'll get started with the sit to stand.
Cool. Okay, so exercise 1 is the sit to stand. So sit to stand, what I want you guys to think about, squeeze your bum and extend your hips as you stand up. I usually put my hands out in front of me, and I'm gonna go squeeze bum, stand up. Terry's doing the easier version, so the higher your chair, the easier this exercise is. Feel free to use towels, cushions, blankets, whatever. Just make your chair as high as possible if you need to make it easier.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do 15.
Cool. Squeeze your bum, extend your hips. That's 2. Everyone's quad muscles pretty much turn on without thinking about it. You need to think about squeeze your bum, extend your hips. The other thing I'm looking for is don't let your knees fall together. So I don't want to see that. You should be keeping your knees over top of your toes. I usually give the expression your knees, hips, and toes should be in the same way. If the Greeks built pillars that looked like this, they wouldn't last very long. So pillars are supposed to be right on top of each other, which is the way we want to stack our hips over our knees, over our toes. How many is
Okay,
that?
and this is 15.
Great.
Good. So we'll take a little rest. So while we're resting, we'll talk a couple more things. So for form, again, you always want to be engaging those bum muscles. So you start to engage them as you're standing up. And on the way down, keep them a little engaged so you don't fall into your chair. So you have a nice controlled descent back into the chair. And so we'll just rest about a minute here and then we'll do another set of these.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we missed? I don't know. Yeah, and so the seat height can be variable depending on what you need. Choose a height that's difficult for you to do somewhere between 8 and 20. So if it needs to be higher, great. If you want to make it harder, you can go lower.
Lots of people, I think this is the most important exercise personally. As people get older and they lose strength in their legs, they start looking for things to push up off of. And they're using their arms and their shoulders, and these muscles are not built to carry your body weight. So we need to think about squeezing our legs, putting our weight through our legs and using these muscles. Because the one expression that is true is if you don't use it, you lose it. So when people start using their arms instead of their legs, their leg muscles break down, and it really just gets worse and worse and worse until you meet us and then re-strengthen your legs again.
Okay, so I'm feeling rested. We'll do another set.
Okay.
Okay.
Squeeze bum, extend your hips. So this would be level 1 would be what Terry's doing. That's the easiest version. I'm level 2. If you guys want to experiment with level 3 is a staggered stance. So this is a lot harder. Only do this if you can do about 20 repetitions of level 2. But when you stagger your stance, you're using this back leg way more. So squeeze your bum, extend that hip. And then if you were to do this, then you need to try staggering your feet the other way as well. So that's just a way to make it harder when you feel ready.
Okay, so that's 15 for me, and then yeah, those are 2 good options for lower seat or a staggered stance to make it harder.
Cool, that's
Okay.
extend. Okay, so the next one is the step up. So the step up is basically, obviously step up, step down. Terry's gonna do a 4-inch step, I'm gonna do an 8-inch step. The higher the stair, the harder it is. We're gonna think about squeezing our butt and extending our hips. I usually like to say start with your good leg first. So put your good leg on the step, and up we go.
Okay, and so I'm gonna hang on for balance here. Holding on for balance just makes it easier to really engage that bum muscle and focus on that. So feel free to hang on for balance on this one. It's really not hindering the exercise at all or making it easier. It's just providing a little bit of support.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to engage that muscle. If you're going like this, when you're going up and down the stair, it's a lot harder to properly use that muscle. And then the higher you go, I like to put my other foot down for balance as well. Once I get up to the stair, grab my balance, back down and get my balance. Good,
Okay,
squeeze bum, extend hip.
I think this is 15.
Cool.
Okay, and so the reason we're leaving our lead, so we can go ahead with the next leg. So the reason we're leaving our lead leg on the step is the muscle engages a lot better when you slow it down and keep the foot on the step. And I also like to touch the muscle. So right now my hand's on my bum muscle that's working, just to really feel that muscle engaging and help to recruit it a little bit better.
Yep. Yeah. The reason I like to do your better leg first or your good leg first is usually people's technique and muscle recruitment's better with their strong leg or their less painful leg. So when we do that first, it kind of shows our bad leg what it should look like. So generally, in all cases, I would say if it's a one-sided exercise, do your good leg first, do your bad leg second.
Okay, and then so since we're alternating legs, we can essentially just go back into that first leg. But as Kevin was mentioning, if you do have a good side and a bad side, it's totally okay to modify the step height per side as well.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll start again with the other side.
Absolutely. You can do a higher step with your good side and a lower step with your bad side. A lot of people ask about that. Challenge the leg according to how strong it is. Keep on thinking, squeeze that butt, extend that hip. Extend that hip. If you guys can start to think about climbing stairs as a hip extension exercise, we're recruiting this muscle to help out the knee. So the more you squeeze your butt and extend your hip, it's kind of like the less hard your quad needs to work.
Okay, and we'll do the other side again. Yeah, I like to just tell people, like, When you start to use your bum muscle instead of just your thigh muscle, it really reduces the forward pulling when we use both this muscle and this muscle. It distributes the load a little bit better through the hip. And so it puts a lot less pressure on your hips and knees for stairs.
Yep. And really the other thing that you can keep in mind, don't let that knee cave inwards too. We want to keep that knee, hip, and foot all in alignment with each other. Don't let that happen. Just keep it.
And I think that's 15, not positive. Got carried away with talking.
Cool. That's the step up. 2 sets on each side. Okay, so the next one is going to be the knee extension. So the important one with this one is that we're sitting up high in the chair. I want to be high enough in the chair that your legs are basically dangling off the edge. It's okay if they're just skimming the floor, but if you're sitting too low in a chair, then to do this exercise, you need to lift from your hip. And that requires a lot from your hip to lift and then hold it up there while you're doing the exercise.
So Kevin and I are both quite tall, so we both need risers, so it depends on your height and how high your legs are up.
I like to just take the band and stick my toe through the middle of it. And Terry's going to show you a...
So I like to make it a little bit more secure, so putting my foot through the band first, doing a little loop, and wrapping it around my toe.
There we go.
Okay.
Send knee forward, let it come back. So you can put your hand on your quadricep muscle on the top of your leg. And this is called the knee extension because you're extending your knee.
5. Yeah, so this one's predominantly working this thigh muscle or the quadricep muscle. You want to pause at the top just to slow it down. And then make sure the band is not pulling you at all. You're nice and slow and controlled.
Good. So for me, I'm going to do my right leg. I'm going to switch over to my left. Switch back to my right, back to my left. That's one way that you guys can do this. And Terry's going to take a break in between.
Yeah, so I don't want to get up and move my band from one side to the other, so I'm going to take a little rest with my foot all hooked up because I have it nicely wrapped around my toe. And I'll rest about 45 seconds or so before doing another set. Just kind of let your leg relax until it feels less tired.
So if you want to kind of do Terry's way of leaving it on the same chair, then just follow with her. She'll take an appropriate rest, a 45-second rest, and then you can do round 2. I'm just going right into the left side. So if you guys are good to switch right, left. My way's a little bit faster, but the downside is it requires you changing the elastic from side to side.
It feels like about 40 seconds. I'm feeling pretty rested. Okay, I'm going to do my other set.
Probably pulling up 13, 14, 15, and there we go.
So for most people, the band feels good. It's a really great way to add resistance to this exercise. But once I'm done with this leg, I'm going to show you how to use an ankle weight instead if the band is creating a little too much torque on your knee to get started. And I'm really bad at counting, so I'm pretty sure that's about 13. I'll do 2 more.
So I'm back on my second set on my first leg. So Terry's using the red band for our color coding system. Red is easy, blue is medium, black is hard. But basically all bands are different levels, so you'll need to check with whoever made your band to determine how hard it is.
You can usually just give them a squeeze to see. So if this leg was weaker and I needed to make it easier, I could use an ankle weight. For the ankle weight, or if you don't have an ankle weight and you're just using your body weight, hold and pause at the top of the motion. This is just an alternative to the band.
Okay, I'm going to try the black band and really challenge myself on my left leg. Oh. And so I don't really need to take a break in between because when I'm doing my right leg, my left is resting. When I'm working my left, my right is resting. So I can go right in from one end to the other. Just 2 different ways of doing it.
Okay, so that's 15 for me. On this side, I'm going to take a break and do another. So if you're doing it Kevin's way, great. You get a little extra break while we just cater to not wanting to move the band or the weight from side to side.
And I'm going to show you what muscle failure looks like. So if your leg is starting to go like that, and you're just not getting all the way out anymore, it's time to stop. I want you to go all the way out and all the way back. I would rather see you use a lighter band and get a full range of motion each repetition than a heavier band and not be able to go all the way out. That being said, if you have an increase in pain in the joint, time to stop. If you can do 10 good repetitions and then 5 bad repetitions, I only ever let you write down 10. I don't want you to write down any bad quality or painful or increase in pain repetitions.
Okay, so that's 15. So I'll just add to that, like sometimes you get a little bit of discomfort in your knee on the first few motions, and that's okay if you have a little bit of discomfort. We just don't want any glaring pain with this exercise. So if it is painful, you can try it with nothing, or you can try it with an ankle weight, or go to your very lightest band. We also have a very light blue band in our system, and those ones are nice and light.
Yep, so that's the knee extension. Okay, so the next one is the hamstring curl. So in this one, we're gonna have to tie the elastic to something out in front of you, usually like a table or like the leg of your couch maybe. Something that's heavy enough that's not gonna move. Terry's gonna sit in a chair so that anchors it for me.
So I get a nice little break while Kevin does this exercise.
Yeah. So we'll go up, put your heel through there, usually good leg first, bad leg second. Once your heel is through there, scoot your chair back a little bit. We're gonna keep our pads or sit up high in the chair so that your legs are semi-dangling. Dangling is the best, or just hovering above the chair is fine. I don't want you to feel like you're having to lift from your hip. That's why we sit up high. Pull back, forward. I'm gonna scooch forward a little bit so I can get a full bend in my knee. There we go. So you wanna get a full bend that way and that way. When my leg goes straight out in front of me, there's still tension on the elastic. That's basically what you want. If you're too close, the elastic just falls off your foot. So if your elastic is falling off your foot, you're too close. Keep on going. We'll call that 9.
6,
7.
7.
I modified for the amount of time that
Okay.
came up if someone kept going. 11, 12, 13. This one's really easy to switch from side to side. 15. So all you have to do, stick your other foot in there, and bada boom, you're on the other leg. So get a full knee bend. You can't see me quite as well on this side, but try to get as much of a knee bend as you can. You should feel this in the underside of your thigh, called your hamstring muscle.
So that's 8.
Great.
Yeah, so just like the other band exercises, you want to kind of pause at the end, stay in control of the band at all times, and don't let any momentum pull you around.
Nice and slow. I'm probably going a little bit too fast. You're probably supposed to go 1, I usually say 1/1002 in each direction. So I'll count on the next one. I think that's 15. That hamstring is tired. So the first set was on my right leg, second set's on my left leg. Now my left is gonna rest while I'm working my right. So, good.
So Kevin's getting a really good range of motion. Usually I say just try to get your foot to kind of go under the chair a little bit if you can.
I'm going to show you what it would be like at time to stop. My hamstring's starting to get really tired. If you can't go all the way, as you can see the difference now between there and there, that's time to stop. You're done. And time to switch over to the other leg. So the last set on the left leg, second set.
So again, just a reminder, we're doing 15 today, but do anywhere between 8 and 20. Whatever is hard for you is going to be the right number. There's no specific number that we're looking for. We're just looking for it to be challenging and for your last repetition to look very much like your first repetition. Good form, good range of motion.
If you find that you're consistently making it to 20 repetitions, then that's when it's time to think about moving up to the next level of elastic band or the next level of the exercise. So
yeah, so you can even move the chair back a little farther, would make it harder, or use a harder band.
Yeah. Oh! Usually, like, yeah, if you move about 6 inches or whatever, a foot backwards, then that adds probably, I don't know, 20% of strength or 25%
Yeah, add more resistance, yeah.
More resistance.
Okay, I'm sure that's 15 on that side.
Great. That's the hamstring curl or the leg curl.
Okay. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to do is the hip adduction exercise. So Kevin's going to be my anchor point for this one. So again, you can use the band anchored wherever it was for the last exercise, like a chair with somebody sitting on it, a table, something heavy, a piece of furniture. So I'm going to take one leg and put it through the band. And then for this one, you want to have enough distance that there's a little bit of tension on the band, and you want something to hold on to so it's easy to stabilize your upper body. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do this. So the idea for this one is we're pulling our leg inwards and working our adductors. So it's going to come in and back out. So the easiest version would be if I tap between to give it a little bit of a break. And to make this harder, I can go into more of like a pendulum swing where I don't rest and tap in the in-betweens there.
So should be feeling this on the inside of the groin, pretty much between your knee and your groin.
Right.
That's called your adductor, so this is called hip adduction. It's like addition and subtraction. You're adding a limb to your body. So that's the muscle action that's pulling this leg inwards towards your body. Good.
And I think this is 15. And then I'm going to switch directions. So I'm just going to turn around, put my leg into here, and switch sides. So again, I'm just going to hold on to the chair to keep my upper body nice and stable, get a good position. And I like this version here where I'm doing more of a swing, but again, it's fine to pause in the middle if that is a better variation for you.
So easier version is tapping your toe. The reason is as soon as your toe taps to the ground, it kind of turns that muscle off and gives it a break. Whereas if you're not toe tapping, then it's never giving that muscle a break. It's just going back and forth.
I'll show you one more variation in the next set.
Great, and then levels for this one, easier, medium, harder band, or you could move farther away from the anchor point, would make it harder as well.
That's at 15.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to switch legs again. So again, because we're alternating sides, you can kind of go right into the next exercise. I'm a little tired here, so I'm going to give it a couple seconds rest first and then get started again with this exercise. So the next harder version of the exercise is rather than coming right into the leg, you can go a little bit in front too to get a little bit more resistance. So this one's more advanced. Try it if you want, or you can just stick with the regular ones I was just doing. So I'm going to go back to that one. That's 3.
You don't want to do the harder one?
It's too hard. Okay, fine.
I'm just kidding, it's very hard. That's level 3. So level 1, tap your foot. Level 2, pendulum. Level 3 would be going in front. You get a really, really big contraction, I find.
Yeah, it just brings it a little bit farther.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're counting, I've lost count.
12.
But, I thought so too. 13. And if you do find that your stabilizing leg is getting too much work, you can move the chair ahead of you, so you can put a little bit of your body weight in while you're doing it. I'm just not doing that so you guys can see me, so I'm going to switch sides and do the other side again.
You could do it on this side.
Yeah, I could actually. Maybe I'll do that. So if this was feeling a little too hard on my stabilizing leg, I can put a little bit of my weight into the chair to make this exercise a little easier on my stationary leg. So again, easiest, medium, harder. And again, see that I'm not letting the band pull me around, I'm staying in control of the band.
Fun fact of the day is the muscle gets stronger on the way back. So when this elastic is shortening and Terry's like letting it come back to the starting point, that's actually when the small muscle tears happen, which builds you a stronger muscle. So that's the time that you want to go the slowest.
Yeah, being nice in control of that
Yeah.
part of the motion too, for
Yeah.
all exercises.
For all exercises.
Okay.
That was the hip adduction. Okay, so the next one here we're going to do is the hip abduction, abduction. I'm going to use one of these elastic bands. She's going to use a loop band.
Yeah, so Kevin's just going to tie the band around his legs, and I'm going to use a loop band that's just a little bit sturdier. So I'd say these ones are typically harder, they're a thicker fabric, and they do come in light, medium, and heavy as well.
For mine, I tell people put your legs together first, pull a little bit of tension on the band, and then cross it over. This is not like a shoelace. Once you cross it and you try and pull it like a shoelace, it doesn't tighten very well because rubber doesn't slide on rubber super well. So pull it tight and then tie yourself a little knot And bada boom, you got your, I'm just gonna shift that around so that's in the back. So my legs are tied together. Purpose of this exercise is pushing your legs apart. I'm also gonna hold on for balance. And off we go. So, I'm gonna hit you in there. Push off to the side. This should be in the outside of your butt. So I usually tell people if you grab your butt cheek, where your thumb is the muscle that we should be working. As you push off sideways, I don't want you to open your toe forwards. So I don't want you to open your toe that way. Keep your toe pointed towards the other toe. Out to the side and back. That internal rotation of your thigh, that's what kind of ensures that you use this muscle.
Okay, so that was 15. So yeah, it's that outer hip muscle. So you're gonna do one side, then you can switch to the other side.
Yeah.
I like to hang on for balance for this one. What I'm gonna do on this one is, if again you have pain when you are standing on one leg, you can lean into the chair as well.
Doesn't hurt if you're pushing like straight sideways. I'd say if you're gonna err some way, you can push sideways and backwards a little bit.
Yeah, I usually do like a 5 to 10% angle backwards.
Do not go forwards. So
No.
not looking for that. That's really bad. Point your toe inwards, push sideways and backwards just a little bit. This one I find that sometimes I actually feel it in my stabilizing leg too. This hip is also having to work because it's pulling in the knee there. So both hips might actually feel a little bit sore on this one.
Yeah, so that was 15. I do also find it works both legs quite a bit. And so another thing to know before, I'm a little tired, so I'll give a second rest here, is that you don't want your upper body to move at all. It's just your lower body moving, and that's why holding onto the chair can actually be really helpful because it stabilizes your upper body as well. So I'm ready if you are.
Yep.
Okay.
I would rather you hold onto a chair than not, because usually people that don't hold onto a chair are kind of going like that, and then you lose focus on which muscle is supposed to be working.
Agreed. Hold onto a chair, hold onto a wall, just hold onto something.
Good.
I find these ones very hard. I'm already getting tired.
Yeah. Maybe you can't make it to 15. That's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can
Getting
only
close.
do 9.
That's 11, and I'm getting close to tapping out. Kevin is up at 12. Kevin will go to 15.
Mine's actually feeling, yeah, just as hard or sore on this side on the stabilizing leg too.
Yeah, me too. Okay, and we'll do the other side. And again, I'm just going to turn sideways, push my body weight a little. This side's weaker for me, so I want a little bit more stability.
Good. Same idea with the toe tap as the last exercise. I don't want you guys tapping your toe, or I should say tapping your toe is level 1 because muscle turns off, off, off. Whereas going back and forth like the pendulum is a lot harder because your muscle never gets a rest. And then level 3 of this exercise would be moving up to just a harder level of band.
Okay, that's 15 for me.
Okay.
Yes, the band color, the band strength makes a really big difference.
Cool. That's the hip abduction. Okay, so the next one is going to be the plank. Terry's going to show you the counter plank. I'll show you the floor plank. You can show them first.
Okay, so for the counter plank, I'm going to put my elbows onto the counter and then walk my feet back. The farther you go back, the harder it will be. And then bring my hips until I'm in a straight line. So I don't want to be sagging because that's going to feel awful on my back, but also don't want my bum super far out. So just that general center point. And also if you can see my feet, you can see that my toes are on the ground, but my heels come off the ground. So I'll let Kevin show his.
For the kneeling plank, pretty easy. Keep your elbow straight underneath the shoulder, and I just tell people lift your hips up off the ground about 6 inches. Before you do that motion, suck in your belly button, harden your belly muscles, and then go into that and hold.
Okay, so we're going to set a timer for you guys, so I'll just get that started. So you can get started in 3, 2, 1, go ahead. So for this exercise, tighten those belly muscles and remember to breathe.
I find when people are doing the counter plank, sometimes
10 seconds.
When they walk backwards, their shoulders shift backwards, so make sure and keep your shoulders over top of your elbows. Not show them what bad would look like.
That's 20 seconds, so bad would look like this or really far over. It feels super uncomfortable on the shoulders unless it's directly above your elbows.
The harder version of the plank
30
would
seconds.
be all the way up from your feet. If you want to do the one all the way from your feet, we'll see if I can hold that for 90 seconds.
Okay, so that is 40 seconds.
Keep on thinking about sucking your belly button, hardening your belly muscles.
And breathing.
Keep breathing. little bit of shaking
50
is
seconds.
normal.
Yeah, shaking just says those muscles are working really hard, but only go as long as you can. This timer here is just to encourage you and so you know how long you're holding it for. So that's 60 seconds or 1 minute.
Especially if you're doing the floor plank, as you get tired, your hips will start to sag down. So make sure and stay up high enough.
1 minute and 10 seconds.
I'd rather be a little bit too high rather than a little bit too low. You guys can be on your knees or on your feet.
1 minute and 20 seconds, 10 more seconds if you're still going. Again, only go as long as you can. And that's 1 minute and 30 seconds. Great. So we'll rest here for a minute or so and then we'll go again. So again, if you're having a discomfort in your back, really just check your hip angle. I find people get a lot of discomfort in their back when they go too low. So we just want to find that happy middle ground where we're pretty straight, like a plank or a board. I would say your bum sometimes is a little bit out, but also not so far out that you're not feeling it at all in the tummy muscles.
I also find rounding your lower back forward a little bit. So usually people's issue is they're too angled in this way. So if you just think about rounding your back forward a little bit, that a lot of the times that relieves people's back pain.
Yeah.
But if you can hold it for 30, 35 seconds with no pain, and then pain starts to come on, that's your time to stop. Don't push through to 90 seconds. Do it as long as you can that you feel like things are good. Once it starts to get worse, time to stop.
Yeah, so we're holding it for 90 seconds today, but a lot of people start with like 10 or 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. So just start with what you can, but you'll be amazed at how fast you can build on the time if you're consistent and regular with this exercise.
Yeah, just do as long as you can, up to a maximum of 90 seconds. If you get to 90 and you can do 2 sets at 90, it's probably a sign that you're ready to move from Terry's to my exercise to the kneeling one, or from the kneeling to the full foot. When you move from that exercise to this exercise, it's normal to go from 90 back down to like 30 seconds, and then you work up from 30 again that way.
Okay, I'm going to start another timer in 5 seconds again. In 3, 2, 1, go ahead. So again, on that note, the counter is a higher surface. It is easier, and if you wanted to have an in-between, you can go to a lower surface like a chair and do it there as well, but I'm just going to continue to do it on the counter. So that's 15 seconds. 20. Remember to breathe, tighten those tummy muscles.
And I know Terry already said this, but make your heels can come up off the ground.
Yeah, if I don't let my heels come off, it's a crazy calf stretch. So 30 seconds.
Too much.
Yeah, definitely need my heels coming off the ground. 40 seconds.
Suck in your belly button, keep breathing, harden your belly muscles. If you have any back pain, it's time to stop.
50. 1 minute.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
Let's keep going as long as you can, Kevin.
Keep
Good job.
keep those hips up. Don't let your hips sag.
1 minute and 10 seconds. Remember to breathe, especially when it gets hard near the end. Tighten those belly muscles so you can even squeeze your bum muscles a little and breathe. 120. 125. And 130.
All right. And that is the plank exercise. Okay, so the next exercise we're going to do is called the glute bridge. So lie on your back, bring your heels into your bum. The easier version that Terry's going to do is squeeze your bum, push your hips up to the sky, hold a couple seconds back down. I'm going to show you the harder version, which is a staggered stance. So once again, only do the level that's appropriate for you. The staggered stance, I'm going to basically put 1 foot farther away, 1 foot closer. Squeeze my bum on the side that is closer. So this is my primary leg. This is really just for stability and support. And I'm pushing up and holding with my right leg.
Yeah, so for Kevin's version, he's going to have to switch sides, but for this one, we'll just go ahead and do both sides at the same time.
So you're squeezing your bum and extending your hip is what we're trying to do with this.
Yeah, so for the glute bridge, I find it best if your feet and bum are pretty close together. And then only lift as high as your bum will lift you. If you go any higher, just arching your back, again, can be uncomfortable on the back. So lift and squeeze and hold with those bum muscles.
I'm going to switch legs. So I'm switching now. I'm using my left leg primarily. I did about 6 or 7 reps on my right leg.
I think I'm about 10 right now.
That's how I'll take the same amount of time as you.
Yeah, so that version's harder, so Kevin's just going to do about half the amount that I'm doing, but just do what's difficult for you.
So you should really feel whichever foot is closer is the muscle that you should be working a whole lot more. Think about squeezing your bum before you lift up off the floor. So squeeze bum, lift, hold a couple seconds, and back down.
Okay, so then we'll take a little breather and we'll do a second set. So this exercise is a really good exercise to get those bum muscles firing and teaching them how to engage. For a lot of people, we kid around, people get glute amnesia. These muscles forget how to do their job. And so teaching them how to do their job is great. But some people who can't contract their glutes a lot do feel it a lot in the hamstrings, or maybe you'll get some hamstring cramps. So if that's happening to you, take a little pause, really think about using those bum muscles more than your hamstrings to alleviate those hamstring cramps.
So your bum muscle is a hip extender. Its job is to take your hip from here to here. So yeah, think about squeeze first and then extend that hip, and that is going to push your hip up to the sky.
Okay, so I'm feeling good to go, are you?
Yep.
Okay, good. You can even put your hands on those bum muscles and feel them working if it helps you to connect to the muscle better. I'm also tightening up my tummy muscles a little so my spine is staying nice and stable, my back is stable as I'm lifting up. Just holding for a second at the top to get a really good glute contraction.
I'm going to switch legs to the other side.
I'm doing the standard one, so I'm just keeping it the same the whole time.
It is pretty normal too. You might have one stronger side and one weaker side, so you don't feel like you have to. If you're doing mine, you have to match like 10 on the left, 10 on the right, or something. It's okay to do 8 on one side and 5 on the other.
That's 15 for me, I believe.
Good.
Hard to talk and count at the same time sometimes.
And that'll be it for me.
Okay, great. So that's the glute bridge.
All right. Yeah.
So we'll finish up with some stretches.
Oh yeah, stretches. So one of my favorite stretches is both for the groin and for the hamstrings. Just while we're on the ground here, open your legs up kind of as wide as you're comfortable to go, and then just lean straight forward in between your feet.
Yeah, and so I'm going to do my stretches on the chair, so I'm just sitting in the chair, leaning forward the same way. So you're going to plant your heels so you're nice and stable, and just kind of lean forward till you feel it in the...
Should really be between kind of your knees and your groin in that area. And then if you want to change the stretch a little bit, you lean over to one side, and that's going to be more of a hamstring stretch.
Yeah, so Kevin will show that hamstring stretch, and I'll do the seated one. It's kind of hard to stay stable that way, so I like to put one foot on the floor, point my toe up, and then lean towards that one side. Okay, so took me a little longer to get into this stretch, so we'll hold it for a little bit longer, and then we'll switch sides.
So pointing your toe towards you is going to accentuate the stretch. If this feels like it's too much, feel free to point your toe away. That'll just lessen the stretch a little bit.
Yeah, so feeling on the underside of your leg or the hamstring.
The more you point your toe, it might get into your calf and the back of your knee too. So just do what feels comfortable, and then you can switch to the other side. Usually I hold stretches for 30 to 60 seconds or so. I always like doing stretches at the end of an exercise program or routine because our muscles are warmed up, and my analogy is like bread. So if you warm up bread and try and stretch it and move it, your muscles are a lot more likely to stretch, whereas stretching cold muscles is like stretching some bread out of the fridge or freezer.
Yeah, and also, like back in the day, they used to tell us to stretch before, but what we found is actually when the muscles are nicely overlapped, they're stronger, and so if you stretch first, they're not quite as strong. So stretching before, not super beneficial because you don't want to stretch cold muscles, and it actually makes you a little less strong if you stretch too much before.
Yeah, so groin stretch, hamstring stretch for me.
Okay, and then why don't we do the hip one so you can
Sure.
do it like him.
So I'll do the lying down version of the hip stretch. So basically, layer one leg is bent, put your ankle on top of that knee, and then the way to make this harder would be if you were to wrap your hands around the back of your thigh and pull towards you, or if you were to push that away from you.
Okay, so I'm going to show the same version seated. Cross your leg over if this is enough of a stretch, great. If not, you can sit up nice and tall and bring your knee towards your chest, or lean forward a bit and push down. I like the sitting up one better. So yeah, we'll hold this stretch. So in the beginning of a workout, the reason you don't stretch is because of all the reasons we talked about, but that's why we do the warm-up. We do a kind of a dynamic stretching where we're kind of moving our legs and stuff at the beginning.
So you should feel this in the outside of the hip of the leg that's on top of the other leg.
Yeah, and so for me, I'm feeling it on the one where my knee is up. I'm feeling it on the outside of my hip there.
Good.
It's always important to breathe when you're stretching. Take a couple nice deep breaths and you'll probably have to get a little deeper into the stretch.
A meditation person says breathe into your hip. So it's good sometimes to take a deep breath and think about the breath going into your hip. And sometimes that imagery can help you relax a little bit more.
Yeah, then you can switch sides.
So left leg over the right. Cross it over, and then if you can reach behind your thigh and pull. Otherwise, easier version would be just push that leg away from you.
And again, I'm just sitting up nice and tall and pulling my knee towards my chest. Or if that doesn't feel good, you can lean forward a bit and push down, same way as Kevin is showing two versions there. I like this stretch though. Usually these muscles get really tight, especially after all those hip abduction and adduction exercises.
Play around with both for me and Terry. Just do whichever one kind of feels better for you, whichever one you feel the stretch is the right place.
Yeah.
Five more.
So we stretched our hamstring, our groin, our hips, and now we're going to stretch our quadriceps.
All right. So I'll show you the lying down quad stretch and I'll show you the standing one. So lying down is a little easier to grab everything because I don't have to balance. You can grab, if you can, grab like the back of your pant leg, and then just pull that up and then push your hip forward.
Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. You can grab your pant leg, you can grab your ankle, or if you can't reach, put a chair behind you and just put your leg on the chair. Drive your hips forward a little bit in whichever variation you're doing, so you feel a stretch through your groin area and down your quadricep muscle.
Good. So basically, Terry and I are doing the exact same thing. I'm just lying on my side while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Good. I'll show you a different variation in a chair when I do the other leg. Or maybe you do that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that for the other leg.
Okay, so that will be...
So Kevin's just going to switch sides and do the exact same thing. So if you want to continue with the standing version, go ahead and do that. But if this feels uncomfortable on your hip to stand and you don't want to do Kevin's version, what I do is, this chair is unfortunate because it has sides, but if you don't have sides, you can kind of hang one butt cheek off the side, put your foot flat on the ground, drive your hips forward and lean back so you can feel the stretch in your hip as well, through your quadricep and through your hip flexors.
It's a really good point about pushing your hip forward. So if you just think about driving that hip forward a little bit, it makes a really big difference.
Yeah. A lot of people want to pull their leg back, which is really uncomfortable on the knee, so driving the hip forward works a lot better.
I didn't know that. I'm going to add that. Good. And generally, we're going to show you these stretches one time. You can go through these on your own. You can do stretching every day. We usually just recommend warm up your muscles first and then stretch.
Yeah, so if you're feeling extra tight, go through those stretches again on your own. But that's all for today from us. So
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.